Hi, everyone. My name's Sandy Casella, and I'm here today with Joe Trimboli from My Mortgage Center. And I'm so excited about this live video. You have no idea. So I'm gonna introduce you to Joe in just a second and what he does and why we're on this video here. I do want to just give you a heads up about why I'm doing these videos. So I am a real estate agent, have a real estate team, and we every time we sell a home, we donate a portion of our commission on that home to mental health research through CAMH. And the way that we do that is by, obviously, it's a portion of our commission. So we don't ask our clients for any money. We just take a portion of that commission that gets donated every year. So we're on a mission to raise $15,000 for CAMH, and we are well on the way to hitting that goal. I'm super excited about that. So I'll talk a little. I'm going to introduce Joe in a second, but I do want to give a shout out to JJ Creation, JJ_Creation, which you can find on Instagram, which is the girl who made my shirt. So I just want to talk a little bit about this shirt. So it says, "Not suicide, not today." Not suicide, not today is a program that CAMH has going on right now. The rates of suicide have skyrocketed, especially this year, which is really sad. I have seen a number of posts on Facebook lately of people whose children have died by suicide, which is, one suicide is way too many suicides for sure. So I had this made, and my mask, I have a mask that says the same thing, and I had a really hard time wearing it because I felt like, I don't know, people might take it wrong, but I feel so strongly that, we really got to support people, and you just never know what's going on in somebody's mind. So you got to be kind to people. When you're standing in line, you never know what that guy beside you or that girl beside you is going through. So be kind. You could make a big difference to people. So that's where, that's why I have my shirt on. And Joe's going to talk about why he has 5 a.m. Club. So I'm going to introduce Joe. And this guy is just like an amazing human being. So Joe is a mortgage broker with the Mortgage Center, but more importantly, the reason I wanted him on here was more because of his 5 a.m. wake up call club that I was introduced to recently through a dear friend of mine, Diana Shaw. And I have been hooked on these calls ever since. So I'll let Joe talk a little bit about it, and then we can get into a little bit of a discussion about it. So go ahead, Joe. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into some questions. So don't give everything away yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Sandy. I echo the same sentiment as you. You're an incredible human being. I think anybody that knows you already knows that, so we don't have to speak too much about that, but it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the call. You've come on to the community, which I guess we'll talk about in a bit, and you shared some stuff that's really helped a lot of people. So thank you for exposing this and playing as big as you do every day. I don't think you've ever missed a call, have you?
I haven't. Since the first time I got on, I have not missed a call.
People think I don't know this. I know this.
I'm addicted. I am addicted to the calls.
Yeah, you know what? So was I. So I think it's. I don't know which way we're going to go here, but I'm going to say, because you mentioned how much you love it, and I remember hearing some of the information that I talk about for the first time, and I was totally addicted to it. Couldn't wait to hear more about it. Couldn't wait to listen more. And I think it's because we know it to be true, right? And it's just like brand new. Why is it brand new? Why didn't we know about this when we were kids, right?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting how life gets a little bit easier as we start to clear our thinking and start to think the right kind of thoughts and take control of our thinking, really. So many times we've read all those lovely quotes that hang on the walls, but what the heck do they mean, right? But when you really come to understand that you can really think your way into anything you want.
Yeah. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about what these calls are, because we haven't really kind of clarified that. So it's called the 5 a.m. wake up call. The call actually starts at 5:30 in the morning. And I will say, when I was invited, I shared this the other day, but when I was invited onto these calls, my biggest fear was, don't even tell me that everybody is on there like showered and ready to go, because I'm not getting on the call, because I literally some days roll out of bed at 5:25 and jump on the call. So I don't usually look like this on the call. So Joe may not even actually recognize me, because I'm usually just got out of bed, my hair's up. But most people on the call are the same way. Like most people, it's just kind of come as you go. So it's very casual. And then I'll let you talk a little bit about what you do on the call. But I will say, I've tried for years to get up early. I'm a morning person, and I've tried for years to get up early. It is early, 5:30. I get up now usually at 4:45. But I am so excited to go to sleep the night before, to get up, to get on these calls. Like, you have no idea. And then it starts my day off, and I'm excited to cut. Like, it's just transformed my whole life in terms of my business and how I look at things. So it's really interesting. So I'll let you talk a little bit about what these calls are, and how they work, and then we can maybe go back and forth a little bit again.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, the call actually does start at 5 a.m. For those that want to come on and, write in their journal, or write out their goals, or think, or meditate, or so yeah, it's officially a 5 a.m. start.
Okay.
But you're right, I don't show up till about 5:30, and 5:30 a.m. we've got, this morning there was 84 people. That was fantastic. I'm so grateful for this, the community growing, and I think a lot of people want to know, what the heck are these people doing? So, like, okay, there's one lunatic that's up this early on a Zoom call. Why is there 84 other people, right? So it was, it's been, it's been growing organically over time. I think people come and they realize that we need this kind of information, and basically we read a little bit. Right now we're reading Think and Grow Rich by
oh yeah, hold on.
This is like the Godfather for all.
I brought it with me.
Yeah. We just finished Dr. Wayne Dyer's Power of Intention. Before that, I think, what did we read before that? Were you with us?
I joined halfway through the Power of Intention.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We've read Neville Goddard. Anyway, the best of the best books that we're told we should read. Sorry, guys. This is ringing through my computer, and I got to shut down this app. I should have done that before.
No worries.
Yeah. So we read for about 20 minutes. Take turns reading, and I get 4 or 5 volunteers. We do it differently. Like, we did Outwitting the Devil. We did that by audiobook, because it was done very, very cool, where one voice was the devil and the other was the narrator. Anyway, very cool concept. But we typically read for about 20 minutes, and then I go back to the areas that I've highlighted as we've read, and just elaborate on some of the things that may have just kind of passed us by, and we, wouldn't have got what we should have got, or maybe not connecting the dots to our personal lives, or professional lives, or the relevance of what we've read and how to apply it in our lives. And I think when we actually take in a book that way, instead of just reading a book to finish the book, we're actually reading books to understand what's in the book. And man, it's the only way to read now, right? And the community that comes as a result, we show up, like Sandy says, in our pajamas, hair is not done, maybe not in our pajamas, but there's no judgment. There's no criticism. Just a bunch of good human beings looking to be better. It takes a humble person, especially you're a successful individual and realtor, run a team, but you're humble enough to continue looking at ways to be better. And, we always say it on the calls, when you get better, everything gets better. Your relationships, your money, your team, your health, so I'm extremely grateful for the information that I have been exposed to. Although I used to be a little resentful that I was exposed to it late in life. I was a mortgage broker for about 15 years before I really started to change the way I thought about things. And, pretty much same results, average results for those 15 years. And I'll tell you, when I started to open up my mind and change what I was focusing on, and became a grateful person, took responsibility for everything, I've, more than 5 times my results, and never looked back. So there's a lot to be said about how we change the way you look at a thing, and the thing you're looking at changes. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so true. And you know what, I guess some people might think, what does this call have to do with real estate, or what does it have to do with mortgages? And really, it has nothing to do with it, and it has everything to do with it, because it really does change your life, and it changes everything that it changes the way you approach your business. It changes the way why you do your business. It changes why you work with the clients that you work with, and how you choose to do that. So Personally, of course, I would want to work with people who I think have a growth mindset. Like, I'm big on surrounding myself with people who think like I think. Like, I want to be surrounded by people who are growing and thinking, because otherwise you're going to end up the same way. If you hang around with certain people, you're going to be the average of those 5 people, right? So I want to hang around with strong people who have a growth mindset. And certainly the people on this call do. I there's one thing that really, like, I'm so inspired by on these calls, and what I have to tell you is that the young people on this call, because just like you're saying, like, you got into this later in life. I'm 57 now. I think I'm 57. Yeah, 57. And I think I've always had a growth mindset, but not to the extent that I do now. And had I been exposed to something like this when I was 20 or 25 or even 30, I mean, wow, I think how much different would my life have been? So when I see people on the call that are, the young couples that are on the call and they're on there together, and the, even the husband and wives, and then the younger people that are in their 20s and their 30s, it's so inspiring to me, because I think so many people are all about, oh, millennials this and millennials that, but these people are going to change the world. There's no doubt in my mind. So it really inspires me when I see younger people on there, because I think, wow, like, what an amazing future you have ahead of you, that you would get up at this time of the day, because Lord knows a lot of people don't want to do that. They would get up at this time of the day and kind of get on here and learn, because you learn so much. Like, even you don't think, like, I know a lot of times I have things I want to say, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should, but you just don't know what somebody else is thinking, and it brings up stuff. So I think that's super important, that the younger people that are on here. But I will say, like, with the books, so in our breakout sessions, and we were talking, one of the questions was, well, that's what we should have had Paul do the intro here. Anyway, I missed that. Yeah. But one of the things Paul had said to everybody was, have you read the book before? And I have read the book before, but I actually had to go into my Audible app and see if I had it there, because then I knew I'd read it. And then at seeing the cover, I know that I have this book, not this version, but I have, like, we got this version, but the other version. And I thought, I don't even remember reading this book. So you're so right. Like, when you read it in the way we do, where we go through it and you're reading it out loud and then you're discussing parts of it, you get so much more out of it. Like, I've got so much underlined already in the book. So it does make a huge difference when you read it this way, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know what? You mentioned the millennials and the people that are on the call, the young ones and the couples. Like, I get most excited when there's a couple joining, or when somebody on the call brings on their spouse or partner. And especially when they're young, right? Like, we have, I think our youngest is 21 or 22.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, it restores my my hope in our future. Like, I do see our younger generation really wanting to improve the planet, improve themselves, improve everything. And I don't know why people are writing them off so quickly.
Yeah. Well, who knows? I mean,
anyway.
I think the thing is, I've had this discussion with some of my friends, that we created the millennials. Why are we complaining about it? We created them. But I mean, I think I happen to think they're great. I think they will change the world. I think they've got a lot of good things about them. So let me ask you, how do you pick the books that you're reading? How do you decide what you're going to read?
You know what? There's been books I've read a few times. Like, Think and Grow Rich is now my 7th time reading it. Psycho-Cybernetics. A lot of them came from the recommendation of Bob Proctor, who's a mentor of mine. I'm a consultant with Bob Proctor, and a lot of us consultants will share reads, and he'll take us through some book studies himself. And these are books that they're timeless. I don't know if you see my library here, but there's different levels, I would say, of readability. Like, Neville Goddard is really, really deep, and we tackled it on the call probably about a year ago. Yeah, man, it was extraordinary. It was amazing. But to sit there and read it by yourself, you may not read that book on your own, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody has to kind of bring life to it. So a list that generated really from different recommendations, people sharing, but a lot of them are recommended by Bob Proctor, who's been studying this stuff for like 60 years. You know him from the movie The Secret, and he really gets this stuff. Like, for me, his story is very relatable. So it was like, I recommend you follow, a couple of people that really resonate with you, that you can connect to, and make them a mentor of yours, whether you know them personally or not. Just do what they're doing. Read what they're reading, and learn what they're saying, because you have to believe it, right? And I think that's pretty much what we're doing, Sandy. In the short of things, we're studying so that we develop faith based on understanding. And I think all of our lives we've been asked to have blind faith and just believe in things, and never really understanding. But when you have faith based on understanding, man, it's a powerful thing.
Yeah, it really is. And like a lot of the stuff that we talk about, I'm just learning. Some of it is so interesting to me because it's stuff that I've kind of had in my brain on a certain level throughout my life, but now I'm starting to realize why. And just the whole like vibrating on a different level. Like I know people that all my life I've said, man, that person vibrates on a different level. And that's exact terminology that I've used. Like, I don't want to be around that person because I don't like their vibration. There's something about their vibration, and just learning about it by being on these calls has been huge for me. And just like getting on to that level where you're everything is positive, and you can actually create your outcome. So a little while ago, I was thinking about this. I think it must have been a book that I read, but you know how, okay, so let's say you have a fish tank, right? So my son has a fish tank. It's a massive fish tank, and he's got 2 Oscars in there. And one of them, so Oscars are pretty big, and one of them died. And so when he took that Oscar out, there's not a hole there. There's not water with a hole there where the Oscar used to be. That fills up the tank. The water fills up all the space. And I feel like that's where we're talking about, like on this vibration level, is that we're all connected. All of us are connected on a certain level. So when somebody is hurting, everybody is hurting on a certain level. And when somebody is positive, everybody's positive on a certain level, because we're all connected. I don't know if that makes sense. Like if you take a person out of this earth, when a person passes away, there's not a hole. The air kind of fills in that. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's kind of how it's, coming to me, is that we are all connected. It's just on what level are we connected, right? And when you tap into that positive part of being connected, it's so incredibly powerful. And just since I've been on this call, there's been so many examples of that positiveness. I'm going to have Danny on a call at some point, because she's incredible what she's doing, and the way that positive energy really impacted her, I think is an incredible story. So, and basically anybody can do that. So I think it's fascinating. But talk a little bit about that. I think, because I yesterday I was in my car, and I was literally like that one you showed with Diddy, like saying I'm going to vibe. Like I was literally, no, I'm vibrating higher. I'm not doing this. We're not going to that level, right? So it really does make you kind of conscious of that.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's like what we have in the morning is like a gym for the mind, right? And we're working out every day. And so when something comes up, you know what to do. You know to put P. Diddy on. It's a decision. You understand the level that you understand that it actually is a decision to say, I can choose to act, to respond, or to react, right? Reacting might wind you up in jail, or somebody getting run over. But when you learn, and I was like, I was a very reactive person. But I think, what you're talking about is being connected. Our birthright is abundance. And I think when you really start to understand that, like we've always been told, all the good books say to go inside, right? Live from the inside out, but nobody really tells us how to do that. And some of the results of the people on the call, like we have the youngest is 22. I think the oldest is 62 or 64 or whatever he is. People who have been trying to quit drinking for 40 years, that have kicked the habit, like after just a month on the call. So it's been 3 months for one guy, and I'm just so proud of him. But it's just gaining an understanding of yourself, knowing to respond versus react, using your God-given conscious mind, or your higher faculties, to actually sort through your thinking so that it aligns with what you actually want. Otherwise, we typically go through our days kind of like in a trance, right? So I think as we start to go inside, that's where we're connected. Like, we're connected in spirit. We're not connected physically.
Right.
And I think that's a big problem we have in the world, is everybody's living so far outside of themselves, right? Everybody's judging, everybody's criticizing, everybody's in a rush to get somewhere. And, you know, we're giving energy to things that we don't want, you know, instead of focusing on what we want. We're always kind of caught up in what we don't want. A couple of things I've heard that kind of changed my world and made me want to really dig into this stuff was the one thing that really began it for me. I have 3 daughters, but the one thing was, what you don't fix, your kids inherit. That was like a baseball bat over my head. I was like, wow, right?
Yeah.
The next thing was, we said it before, and I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't sound like too far out without understanding this stuff, but really we can create anything you want. We're God's highest form of creation, right? We're here to do God's work, and this isn't, you know, meant to be a religious statement, but I think any theologian or scientist will say everything is energy, right? Energy is, it's in all things, evenly present in all things at the same time. Theology will say God is, that's it. God is evenly present in all things at the same time. So whether you want to refer to it as energy or God, we have, everything's here. You know, the water you're talking about, the fish that was in the water and the space, and it's all already here. We don't have to create anything.
Yeah.
We just bring things into our awareness. And so energy is coming at us all the time, right? In the way of invisible energy is a thought. Now, through our perception, through our reasoning, through all these faculties, imagination, we will take that energy that's coming at us and we will make it positive or negative. It just is. It's just energy. We make it good or bad. We make it positive or negative, right?
Yeah.
So what's good for you may not be good for me. I might, you know, it's my perception of something. And when you understand that when you're making that energy what it is, the thinking causes our feelings, the vibration, as you say, right?
Yeah.
So the vibration, that's what's expressed. That's the frequency that you're on. You're going to get results on that. So thoughts, feelings, actions, results. If I'd have known that when I was like 10 years old, I think, you know, but I'm grateful that I got it for when I did. I'm still working on it. I think that's what makes people, what attracts people is that, you know, I'm not preaching at anybody. I'm kind of like still on my journey every day, looking to become better, make myself vulnerable, sharing my experiences. There's been some great stuff that's happened to me, but I also recognize where I manifested some terrible things. And I think the difference is, if you're a victim who is ready to take responsibility for things and change your results, it's perfect. But if you're a victim that wishes to remain a victim, calls aren't for you, because you will have no excuses.
Yeah.
Right? You gain such an understanding that it just rids you of any excuse that you could possibly come up with. It's incredible. And I think you were saying before, the people you want to do business with, absolutely. I want to do business only with people that will take responsibility for everything and not be like, well, that's not my problem. That's the lawyer's job, or that should have been that guy. So what can we do in our process? So when you really see the effects of this, it's philosophy. It's a way of being that you apply to your business, to your relationship, to your money, to the way you sleep, the way you wake up. It's how you do one thing, you do all things. So
yeah. And you have such a great energy on these calls. Like you're, you know, some days you get like really passionate about something, and I love that. And it's not like, I mean, I think a lot of these things, you know, because you've been there. Like you weren't always like this. Like you say, you know, you used to be very reactive, and so did I. I'm still learning that, right? Like I'm still learning to respond instead of react, and it makes a big difference. And some days, like some things happen and I respond, and then I think to myself, who is this person, right? Like I don't even recognize myself, because you know, it's just a different mindset. But it absolutely is a journey, and everybody who's on there, everybody in life is going through a journey. I mean, and everybody has a story for sure, but you know, it is a real learning process, and you weren't always able to do this. Like it's taken time, and still some days I'm sure I know I do, and you probably do have those days where, you know, you kind of have a bad day or something happens and you don't respond the way you want, and you kind of, you know, but you're just able to pull yourself back quicker and get back to where you should be. So I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not going to become robots, right? We have emotions and they're perfectly fine. And yeah, it's, you know, we're developing different muscles. We're behaving a little differently. It takes a little bit of time to get stronger, and you need to practice, right? You know, you said something, and it reminded me, yeah, 5 years ago, I was hanging out in my shed with my old buddies from high school doing stupid stuff, right? Till like 3, 4 in the morning. And,
yeah.
you know, there was a lot of stupid talk and then I wouldn't wake up till 7 or 8 or 9. You know, I would never make an appointment before. And then I'd complain about my results. And like, you know, if there was no such thing as bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. So I recognize a victim, man. And but I didn't know it when I was playing that, because you know what? Now I understand there's certain laws.
Yeah.
Law of cause and effect.
Yeah.
You put one ball of effort, you get one ball of action reaction. There's these laws that govern us, like, and we have no clue what they mean.
Yeah.
Right? Like this never falls up. Never, ever will it fall up. Right? So I don't want to like scare your viewers away, but I've spent a lot of time studying these laws, and I've seen them working in my life, both for me and against me. And I see it in other people. And that's why when I have somebody on the phone, some people reach out to me one-on-one, as you know, Sandy.
Yeah.
And they might have been in therapy for 10 years, and we have a conversation, and it's like, because we already have the answer within us. And it's thinking through the programming, you know, like that we didn't choose. We didn't choose the way we think. It was just programmed into our subconscious mind. And the only way really to change is the daily practice, the daily workout, the repetition of things, hearing it over and over and over again, and then it clicks, you know, finally. Or it clicks a little bit, you thought you had it, and then it doesn't, or you go and you screw something up, and now it clicks, right? But gratitude, I think, is the number one thing that changed in my life. That was probably step one. I went from complaining and thinking I was a victim and, you know, the world was out to get me, to becoming very grateful for everything in my life, including, you know, the cancer. I had some other horrible things happen. I don't even know if people on the call know that I had cancer when I was like 21, 22.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been through bankruptcy, you know, so I've had some challenges in life, but the law of polarity, there's another law. Everything has an equal and opposite. So for as shit as something is, there's an equal and opposite good, right? Yeah.
Which is sometimes really hard to see, though. Like sometimes, you know, when you're going through those dark times, it's hard to see that there's, you know, there has to be an opposite to it, because that is a law. And the more you learn it and the more you see it and open yourself up to it, I think is the biggest thing, is when you start to see these things, right? You know, like a big part for me was, I want to get into the, like, kind of the people you have on there and how wide ranging it is. But, you know, when you had Doug Dane on there and he was talking about, if there's a positive, there's got to be a negative. So you got to be prepared for that negative, and then you just got to choose the positive, right? So you've just got to, it's actually a conscious choice. And I said earlier, like some of these things I've done in my life and not even realize it, but now I'm starting to put the kind of the pieces together. And what the biggest thing was, I talked about on one of the calls, was there was a very dark period of my life where we really went through some, as a family, struggled. And I realized there had been a period of about 3 months where I had not smiled. Like it was really bad. And so I was driving in the car one day, and I just put a big smile on my face. And I was driving like, and my daughter said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm just practicing smiling," because I knew that you can't be negative and positive at the same time. And it's hard to be upset when you have a smile on your face. So I forced myself to smile. And I didn't even realize how profound that was until I started getting on these calls. I started to realize that started to change my life in a positive way. So those things are so important. But you said it earlier, like, we just don't know what we don't know. We're not taught this as kids. You know, and that's why I like when the young people are on there, especially the ones and their kids are sitting there watching, and you've seen examples of it, that their kids have these boards and vision boards and things written down. That's so amazing. So they're learning that stuff, right? Which is huge, because we're not taught this. I was never taught this as a kid. I was told, go outside, you know, come back later, you know. So it's huge. You've got to learn these things. And just like you have to learn math, you have to learn this kind of stuff as well, because it doesn't come. The only thing that comes natural in life really is friction. That's the only thing that comes natural in life. So you have to go out and learn these other things on how to be positive. But you've got a huge, huge range of people. Like, this really is an international call, and now it's spawned another call. So talk a little bit about that, about like where the people are, some of the people are that are on this call.
Yeah, so it's funny enough. It started off as a very quaint group. Myself and 3 other guys in my mastermind. There's actually 3 guys that I was coaching, and I did it as a, like, you know what, guys, I'm going to be studying in the morning, I'm going to be reading some stuff. Let's do it together, sort of to encourage them to do a little more studying. And I was very protective of that group. Like, we were the fantastic 4. Nobody was allowed in. And one day I was leading a workshop at Manulife, and I was inspired to ask people, because I felt like I saw them catch a glimpse of what's possible for them. And that's, I think, maybe the best thing I can do is at least plant that seed and allow people to see that, hey, you know what, that thing is actually possible for me. And then I just saw them walking out the room in my mind, and then, never really listening to anything again, or maybe 6 months to go to another workshop or another, maybe a motivational speaking thing, or, to read a book. But that's like going to a boot camp. You can't say you're healthy if you go to a boot camp every 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So I just kind of like blurted out, listen, guys, I have a call in the morning. Why don't you guys come on? And I think 3 people stepped up from this 50 or 60 people that were in the workshop. See, and there's another little trap. Like, you were talking before, and I was like, holy cow, we can go like a week on this topic. We can go a month on that topic. I can dig into this one. Yeah. And now they're all gone. So we'll never get into those. So, like, we got to understand the importance of the daily study, or study just in general, because you said it. People don't know what they don't know. I don't know what I don't know. And the problem we have, and I say it all the time on the calls, is ignorance, right? People don't know. And those are the people that stop us. Those are the people that'll tell you you're crazy. What do you mean you're going to call it in the morning? Or what do you mean law of attraction? What are you talking about? Go to work, right? And we look at them because they gave something, because they attended a workshop. Oh, I know about mindset. Yeah, I believe in it. But what do? They read a half a book once, right? So it's really easy to get sort of distracted. And plus, people don't want you to call them out or to become aware of the fact that they could be doing a lot better than they're doing, right? Yeah. So they'll just convince you that things are the way they are, and you have to be realistic. But anyways, so the call kind of started like that. So we had now 7 people on the call, and slowly, I remember one guy in particular asking me, he was a realtor. He had done a deal with somebody, and he was telling about this call, and he asked me, can so-and-so come on the call? I was like, no, I've got 7 people now. It's going to be hard. And it was just on the phone. So we would all call in.
And, okay. Yeah. Like a conference call.
Yeah. And, eventually I think he asked me 2 or 3 times. I said, okay, you know what, let him in. And we got up to about 17 people on that conference call. And people kept asking. I said, you know what, guys, we're going to go to a Zoom call. And everybody kind of like, what do you mean? I got to wake up at 4 to like take a shower.
Yeah, like what I thought.
Because now they know they're going to be on video.
Yeah.
And, Sandy, to kind of relate some of this to the material that we talk about, I was always in harmony. If I read you my life script that I wrote, see, because like I say that and I feel weird saying that, because how many people spend any time giving any conscious thought to their life script, right? Like, we hear about it, but anyways, in my life script, I wrote a couple of things. One was, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm being asked to speak to large audiences all over the world. And about a month after I wrote that, the president of Mortgage Center at the time asked me to speak in Cancun, Mexico, in front of like 250 people in the network, right?
Crazy, eh?
Yeah, wow. It's crazy. And okay, my results as a mortgage broker are pretty good. There's many others doing a lot better than me that we probably want to know their secrets, but it wasn't even a talk on mortgages. It was about how this material made me a more effective mortgage agent. The other thing that I was in harmony with was sharing this information. I was never in harmony with selling it. I was in harmony with sharing it and always sharing it with people all over the world. So I never went out there and asked for people to join. People, you got introduced to it. Other people got introduced, and then we got an influencer on our call, the lovely Bomber McCabe, who is just I don't know, she brought on people from, we have Javier in Mexico, right? Cancun. And then I got somebody in Australia. Then they invited their friends. So I got like 8 Australians that now my buddy Ricky is going to lead their call there. So they can have theirs in the morning. I got somebody in Borneo. I got somebody in Thailand. Danny's in Thailand.
Yeah. Then
the foundation that I've been in harmony with, that like grassroots, we're going into the
I want to talk about that. Yeah,
like they attracted us, right? Yeah. Like their goal was to raise $1,200 for the year for the school rent, $1,200, and in 48 hours, I think we raised $10,000 for them. Yeah. And now it's something that I'm so determined. We're going to go in there, build the pillars to make it a sustainable community, and go into other impoverished places in Thailand and do what we can there. I mean, when you hear the story of Danny and Sunshine and how that all came to be, it's like mind blowing, and how we came together. And then you connect Jenny to that whole mix, and she's got a sanctuary over here because, you know, part of that is maybe saving animals. And man, it's just, what a life, you know, to think that I was going to go through the rest of my life complaining, because complaining is a trick, right? It makes us think we're doing something about our problem. And to just be so grateful and excited for like the next thing. And it's almost like I'm fully willing to fail. I don't even care. It's like, yeah, you know, and just 5 years ago, I was feeling like I had no more passion. There was nothing that used to excite me, nothing I was looking forward to. It was like, not even like the idea, if you were to give me a Ferrari, that wouldn't even cheer me up right now. It was stupid. Yeah. You know, so now, I love it. I can't wait. I haven't missed a call in I don't know how long, right? I was up at the cottage on the dock, 5 a.m. You know, if I travel, I'll be up at 5 a.m. It's not work to me. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's pretty clear too. Like when you're on the calls, it's very clear that you're very passionate about this, and it just truly comes from your heart, just truly comes from your soul, and all the people that you've attracted on there are the same way, right? Like you've just attracted an amazing group, and like some of the people and some of their stories, and you know, just how positive everybody is. It's huge. Like it sounds weird, but you know, like I said, I've struggled for years to get up at early in the morning, and just I never could do it. But now I'm so excited to do it. But that's just saying something in itself that, you know, some people would say, oh, you know, I can't get up that early. I'm not going to get up that early. But you know, maybe you give it a try. I mean, we're all on a journey, right? Maybe you give it a try and it works for you, and starts your day off right for sure. I know it starts my day off right. Like I'm just super excited. Like I've actually, like some days, like my head feels like it's going to explode because I'm just like so excited to get going. I got all these ideas running through my head, and I'm like, I just can't wait. Like I just want to like shoot out of my house like a cannon. I don't even need a car. I could just shoot right to my office with so much energy. But it's so amazing to see. I want to talk about a couple of things. So one is what's going on in Thailand, because you're doing something magnificent out there, and I think that you truly have manifested that. That's an unbelievable story of what's going on there, and how that's all come about. Talk a little bit, I guess, a little bit more about what happened there and where it's going. And I mean, I don't know how much of that you've got set up and you want to share at this point, but let's see a hair on this one. But maybe like whatever you want to share with that would be amazing.
Yeah, so I don't have much set up, or it's in the works. Right now we're trying to decide if I'm going to create the foundation, like our own charity number from nothing, or if we're going to go with, I think, Pencils of Promise or something. They allow you to piggyback off of them, and they've got everything set up. So nothing's been set up yet, because thankfully $1 in Thailand goes a long way. I mean, you know, $1,200 for the year for rent for a school. So we're just kind of getting things going now. We're looking into water filtration systems and, you know, the source of the water, education for the kids. They've cleaned up the school. They've bought all new, like, it's amazing what the kids asked for. We asked them to make a wish list. They asked for cleaning products. They asked for pots and pans.
It's crazy.
You know, it's just, and so Danny and Ploy were sharing with me that they were telling the kids to dream bigger. You saw when I was asking the kid, what do you want? Anything you want? And he says, a guitar, right?
Yeah.
And it's like they really had to push them to come up with something that they could ask for. So all the kids asking for soccer ball. And it's just, what a joy to see that, right? So nothing's been set up, but the goal is to have a recurring, like you do with your cause, which I think is fantastic. you know, whether I'm going to monetize the wake up call, I don't know. I see, like, listen, I wish I had the wake up call for me when I was starting my journey, because
Yeah.
what do I do today? What do I read? I don't know. I don't feel like it. And then go and get frustrated. So what took me 3 years or 4 years may have taken me a couple of months, right? Coaching can be expensive. I think, you know, it's always worth it. Whatever dollar you invest, you get out.
Absolutely.
But it's not for everybody. They don't understand the value in that. So right now I'm flip-flopping. I don't know, but if I do, I mean, I'm going to do like you do. A portion of it's going to go to Thailand. I think the members would be happy to contribute a certain monthly amount every month to go to, whether it's funding a family or, you know, somebody's education or the water program or something. So we're creating it. Like, I mean, this is brand new.
It's all brand new. Yeah, it's just really, and this has really come about really quickly. And it was just simply a matter of Danny, who I'll just tell everybody is a Canadian, and she's in Thailand and she's doing some amazing things there. And she's on the call every day. And then she talked about, you know, the school where they teach the kids. She's teaching English as a second language, and they had no money to pay the rent. And, you know, they were hoping to get a little bit of money to kind of see them through for the next little while and figure out what they were going to do. And she just put it out there, and everybody just said, well, hell yeah, I'll donate. So, you know, they got enough money to pay for a year, and that kind of spawned a bunch of other things. So then we had a call where a Facebook Live call a Zoom call where they showed all the kids and everything. And the kids were so enthralled and so enthusiastic to see everybody. And you could see the disbelief, I think, in their eyes. And, you know, the fact that these people that are so far away cared. It was just amazing to see that. So I think it was beautiful. I know there were a lot of people on there with tears in their eyes, for sure. So that was absolutely beautiful. But that's something, it looked like you're very passionate about it, and yeah. I know there's big things to come there.
I remember being in a it was a seminar, I guess, in 2017, and I heard a woman, Cynthia Kersey, talk about her Unstoppable Foundation, how she went into Kenya and built these sustainable communities. And she had asked, you know, so I had registered to donate. I think it was $100 a month or whatever. And it's a nice amount of money, but I kind of felt like it's so easy. I feel like I'm not even doing anything.
Yeah.
Now the dollar goes far there too, but it was like, from that moment, I was like, I want to create something. I want to go somewhere where they need this and create this. And, you know, we are always being prepared for something bigger, right? Like when you're being tested, it's because we get these, like, you've asked for something bigger. So what's that thing I always say? The universe will not grant you with more, or bless you with more until you can prove you can handle what you've already got.
Yeah.
So, you know, I guess I graduated somewhat, and there's Danny, who was supposed to be back home in March, then got delayed, then something with her visa, and all things sort of aligned to keep her there long enough to make the connection with us here, and sunshine there. And, you know, everything worked out for her, and it's just so fantastic to see. And like you said, like, I'm so grateful for the community that exists on that call. The quality of people, the quality of human being, and we're connected, I guess, because we're showing up. We haven't judged each other, and we're all there looking to be better, and people are sharing amazing things, and we're all learning. It was so easy. It was like people just gave so freely and happily, and you see from the outside as an observer the pleasure we get in giving. But, you know, so many realtors, so many mortgage agents, so many insurance brokers, so many employees, they're worried about getting before they give. And if we were all just to focus on what we could give, cause and effect, the money will come, right? The sales will come, the volume will come. That you don't have to worry about. You'll always be provided for. But people chase the effects.
Yeah.
They're not at the cause of the thing that they want. So it's just so many lessons.
There are so many lessons. And that used to be, so two things. One was, like, that used to be a hard thing for me, is to give and tie it together, because I didn't know how to tie it together. And I didn't want people to think that, oh, she's just doing that because she wants to get more business. She wants people to think she's a good person. So I had a real like bad mindset paradigm around that. And I've got some really great mentors that have helped me with that. And, you know, some good friends. And I have a good friend who called me one day, and he said, you know, if you just be yourself, like you're such a, like, you give so much, just be yourself and just put that out there. And I was like, I don't really know how to put that out there. And then I thought, whatever, I'm just going to do it. But when you do that, you attract those kind of people is what happens. And that's what people kept saying to me, like, you're going to attract, if somebody thinks that you're doing it for the wrong reasons, then you don't want to be aligned with that person anyway. It doesn't matter. So just put it out there. And that's kind of what I've done. And that is one of our core like ideas on our team. And we hire around that. Like, you have to believe that giving starts the receiving process. You have to want to give back. You have to want to help other people, because, if you, to whom much is given, much is expected. So you've got to turn around and help people behind you. So we're very big on that. And you're obviously very big on that too. But you also have to, just like you're saying with sales, you have to be, the first sale has to be to yourself. But when you're giving, you have to feel it. Like, you have to really feel that, something will always reach out and grab you, that, like, yeah, I'm very passionate about that. I'm passionate about mental health because my whole life has been affected by people with mental health issues or addiction issues around me. So that's why it's so near and dear to my heart. And I've seen that it's not necessarily the mental health or the addiction that's an issue. That's an issue, of course. But what's more of an issue is the stigma around it, and how people don't want to talk about it, and it gets kept quiet, and nobody, everybody keeps the white elephant in the room. That's what causes the problem. That's where people have a breakdown and where things don't go well. So if we can just be open and honest about it, like we would with anything, like you will say, I had cancer when I was 21, but there's a lot of people who would not say, you know what, I went through a really bad depression when I was 21. People won't say that, or they won't, I think I said earlier, I've seen so many people, I've heard of so many people this year have lost children to suicide. And I don't know if that there's so much more, or that people are so much more open and honest about it, whereas before they would never have said that. And it's heartbreaking to me to think that somebody is that hurting inside, that they feel like that is their only option. Like, it just breaks my heart to think that. So, you've got to feel these things, right? Like, you've got to truly believe that you're helping people on a different level. And you really are. Like, I don't know. I honestly don't know if you grasp how much you are helping people on this call. Like, I honestly don't. I think you do on a certain level, but on another level, I honestly don't know that if you really, really grasp how much you're helping everybody just by being yourself and just being so authentic on there and letting people have the space to talk and create and, connect with one another. Like, do you get that? Like, seriously, do you understand that?
Yeah, I thank you for saying that. I one of the things is you have to be ready to receive it, and I don't take credit for it. I feel that we have all been given gifts, or you are where you're at because of the struggles that you've had in your life, and now you're there's the equal and opposite good to that. And I've had struggles in my life, and when I think about those people that have committed suicide, and then I think about the conversations we have on the call, we're all dealing with pretty, and this is not to discount mental illness. But if we were to speak out loud and share what's going on internally, we'll see. We're just like everybody else. And everybody's thinking that, something wrong with me because I have all these crazy thoughts, and everybody else is good. And, they don't worry about this, and they just speak when they want to speak. And so no, I do. I'm grateful every day, Sandy, that I am able to help people reach out to me. Like, some of the messages I get, some of the phone calls I get. But I just feel like I'm kind of like the tour guide. We already have everything we need inside. We're built perfectly. Spirit is perfect. And if we just clear up the thinking a little bit, you've already got everything you need to kind of improve your life. So I'm grateful that I've been graced with whatever that. I guess my gift might be vulnerability. Like, here it is, right? Where most people will be like, look at me, I'm figured out, right? And I don't think to be that. And I think that's probably what allows me to get to the root of the problem, and just understanding that simple concept, cause and effect. What people are trying to address something that they think is the problem, when really that's the effect of the problem.
Yeah. The mind is an extremely, extremely powerful tool that I don't think, like, I've seen people with mental health issues and the way they think. And I thought to myself, like, wow, if you could if your brain can make you think that way, imagine how you can train your mind to think another way, which just leads into this whole thing of cause and effect, right? And whatever you truly believe in your brain, you can manifest in life. And that taught me a huge lesson when I saw that how powerful the mind really, really is, that we really don't know. And it's just a shame that, people go through life, like you said, you say a lot on the calls, like you used to have the mindset of, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who say this, if it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. And sometimes we say that as a joke. Yeah. Oh, ha ha ha, if it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. But it's not good to do that, because you really are, you're putting that out there into the universe, and that's what's going to come back to you.
Yeah, and we think like these things that we've heard about are just suggestions, right? Like I say all the time, abracadabra comes from the Aramaic word abracadabra, meaning what I speak, I create. Like that's the literal translation.
I did not know that.
One of the oldest words that is known, like it predates, what I speak, I create. Abracadabra. So yeah, ha ha ha. There's no such thing as bad luck. I have no luck at all. But you're creating that. And we say these things to ourselves. Like we speak to ourselves in ways that we wouldn't speak to our worst enemies sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
We say so that we hate it because it's just bad manners. But we speak to ourselves in these ways. And, if we really get to understand that and the compound effect of that and what a paradigm is and how our subconscious mind just accepts anything that's impressed upon it, because we're not doing the thinking for ourselves, and I think people judge themselves for where they are. Well, I'm not smart enough. I didn't go to school. I got a shitty job. I can't do this. I got a family. I got bills to pay. Got to be realistic. And it's, well, how about we just start by thinking, like, what do you want? Nobody really thinks about that. Nobody stops to actually sit down and think about it. And the other problem we have is 98% of the population, including the people that care for us most, are giving us advice on things that they know nothing about. And really, so all problems in the world have ignorance as their root. You look at any problem that exists, the root cause is ignorance, not knowing. Not ignorance like you're rude or stupid.
Right. Yeah.
Not knowing. Ignorance, you're just not aware, right? Ignorance causes doubt and worry in the conscious mind. Like, I don't know what the hell's going to happen here. I don't know. Then you worry about stuff. How's it going to work out? I don't know. How am I going to pay the... That causes fear. Fear is now the vibration, right? That puts you in a state of anxiety. You don't express anxiety, you suppress it. That leads to depression. Like you think about it, if I ask you, Sandy, how's it going? You don't say, oh, I'm really good, Joe. Right? Like I can't even do that properly. It's expressed. Yeah. So we're putting that out there, but we suppress this anxiety. That leads to depression, deceleration, disintegration, dis-ease, right? And there's all these people walking around. And what was the problem? Ignorance.
Ignorance.
Now, those people have the biggest TVs in their family. They probably have, the big couch, probably home by 5, watching the news at 6, sleeping by 7:30, or doing God knows what, watching movies, right? Binging on Netflix. And that's not to put these people down. It's just, but now, anything you want to sort of solve, what's the opposite? What's the opposite of ignorance? Knowledge. How do you acquire knowledge? Through study. What's the one? I hated studying at school. Don't ask me to study. It was like the night before I'd cram stuff in.
Yeah.
But that's the only way to develop understanding. So now through study, you acquire knowledge, which leads to understanding in the conscious mind. Faith in the subconscious mind, because you know what the hell you're like, you know what to expect. You understand what's happening. That gets expressed as what, like that's well-being. You're in a good place, and that's acceleration. That's where creation happens. But most people would rather die than study.
Yeah. I always say lately I heard the saying, go as far as you can see and you'll be able to see farther. And the more I say that, it's so profound. And I kind of relate it to when you're driving in the fog, right? Like you can't see 3 car lengths ahead, but every car length you get, you can see another car length. So it's really become very profound to me that, go as far as you can see and you'll be able to see farther. Because I think if there's anybody watching this who's like, wow, like I'm here and Joe's talking like here, he's up on this level here and I'm here. I don't even know. I have no idea. Like that's a bridge too far. Like I don't know how to get from here to here. I don't even know how to get up in the morning and be positive. But I think you just got to start where you are. Start with what you have, start where you are, and just start to look at different things like reading and reading books or whatever instead of watching the news, all that kind of stuff. Everything will lead to something else and will lead you to somewhere farther, right? And I look at that and say, like, you just got to start somewhere. Everybody has the same amount of hours in the day. And I heard, like, a few years ago, somebody said to me, I don't know where I heard it, but they said, if you drive 20,000 kilometers a year and you listen to audiobooks like self-help or some type of audiobooks where you're learning while you drive those 20,000 kilometers a year, in 3 years, you will have a university equivalent of a university education. And I thought, wow, that's profound, because I left school at 16. I had 2 kids by the time I was 25. I got my grade 12, but through like independent learning and stuff. So I never went to post-secondary school, but I'm a learner. I love to learn. I love to read. And so I thought, okay, well, I can do that. That is something I can do because I'm in my car all the time. Like 20,000 kilometers for me is half a year. So I thought that's what I'm going to do. So I just started listening to books in my car, and I would read one book and that would lead to something else, which would lead to something else, which, led me to other things and led me to meeting Diana. And then when I think about that kind of stuff and the people I've met, like, we're so different. Diana's much younger than me. We live in different areas, but we connect. We share the same birthday, by the way. I don't know if you know that, but
she's lovely.
For whatever reason, we have a connection. And when she said to me, hey, I'm on these calls, like, maybe you'd be interested, I was like all in right away. Like, yeah, I'm doing it. Like, if she says this is good, I'm doing it. So I got on. But my point here is, one thing led to another, led to another, led to another, led to another. I never went from, just like you didn't go from being that guy that was hanging out in the shed till 3 a.m. and saying, man, so there you go. Just think about that. You're hanging out in the shed till 3 a.m. I've always said to my kids, there's nothing positive going on after midnight, so you need to be home. So obviously you're out there now, you're getting up late, and now you're saying, if it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. You never put those two together. No. You never thought that. No. So you didn't go from that to all of a sudden having this call now where you've got 84 people on there. Mm-hmm. This was a journey of learning and evolving. And like I say, go as far as you can see, you'll be able to see farther.
Yeah. And, that's basically what we say is raising your level of awareness. The more you become aware of, the more effective you become as a human being. And I never really got that concept. It was like, oh, no, just give me the money. Where's the money? How do I improve my results, right? But you know what? Start where you are with what you got. And it's sad when we have a guy that's 62 years old on the call, and his age means nothing. I'm so happy for him that age didn't, because most guys will be, I'm too old. Nah, what's the point? And we judge ourselves based on our past or who we are right now. But who we are right now is a result of our previous way of thinking.
Yeah.
We really got to get that. We've created, and what changed for me was I actually took a step back and took responsibility for everything in my life. It's a hard thing to do.
It's a hard thing to do.
But man, am I grateful for having done that, because to have gone through my life as a victim, getting average results and frustrated and angry and resentful, and, because we grew up in a culture where people are justifying where they're at in their life. They're making excuses. There's a scarcity mindset. There's a limited supply. That guy's got good luck. I got it's just, so now these form our beliefs, and we never stop to question our beliefs or why we think the way we think. And self-image is everything, right? Yeah. Self-image is absolutely everything. We demand respect before we have it for ourselves or before we give it. And, so we can get respect, forgiveness, gratitude. Like, we can go in so many different directions, and that happened over time. Like you say, Sandy, it's not like I woke up one morning and I was repaired.
Yeah.
I said the proper prayer, and we talk about that too. Like, for me, we go to church on Sunday and say the prayer that peace and love and everything else, and then we go in the parking lot and there's people swearing at each other. Well, that's the prayer.
So true.
Right?
Yeah.
I think what we're doing when we pray is setting the intention. I don't want to judge. I want to have peace, peace in the world. Now, when I go and be the person in the world, that's the prayer. That's praise, maybe. I don't know, but I was taught, you say these words that I don't even understand the meaning of.
Yeah.
And things are supposed to be bestowed upon us, seriously? Like, it's just so crazy.
Yeah.
So do not, like, if you're sitting there, and I think this is probably why people are attracted to the call or to conversations with me and with you. I see what's possible for every single person. I don't see them through their own paradigms.
Yeah.
And I believe that, I believe that 1,000,000% now. Maybe I didn't believe that 1,000,000% 4 years ago, but guys, if I was able to become aware of certain things and do things that, now I'm not saying I'm a cajillionaire and I have everything I want in my life. My relationships are perfect but man, it improves. And that improvement it hasn't stopped. I'm still on my way. Like, I've 5 times my results, nowhere near where I'm going to be. But man, I need a telescope to look back to where I was 5 years ago. So, I'm not preaching at people. I'm not claiming to have it all sorted out. I know I'll never get it. Nobody will ever get it. We'll always just be getting it. We'll only just be getting it. I think I got it. Oh no, I was wrong. I don't got it yet. Right?
Yeah. You say a couple of things that are pretty interesting. One, you always say, you said the other day that you want to go to your grave learning.
Absolutely.
You want to be learning all the time. Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah.
We hear so many times somebody retires. Oh, so sad. He retired last week and didn't wake up.
Like, yeah. You got to be. Yeah.
You gotta have a goal. I think one thing that everybody's saying the same thing, Sandy. Any one of these success guys, anyone that's achieved anything worth, any celebrity that holds up an Oscar or athlete that holds up the trophy in their given sport, any successful entrepreneur or author, businessman, whatever, they're all saying the same thing, just in a different way.
Yeah.
Right. So I love this stuff. Just love it.
Pretty. Yeah, I know. We could.
And then we have real conversation. Like, we're not sitting around and I'm bitching about stuff, right?
No, and it's so true. But everybody's so authentic. Like, it's not. We talk. We do talk about God and stuff, but it's God in whatever way you perceive God to be.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't matter. Whatever.
Yeah. And the one thing that I learned on the call, one thing that was said, and is so true, is don't let religion get in the way of your spirituality. Yeah. Right. And there's a big difference there. Like, I was raised Roman Catholic, and I've always thought, okay, how does that work then? Because everybody celebrates something different at Christmas time. So, whose God is the real God, right?
Like, we're going to heaven, everybody else going to hell because they believe in the wrong, that's not their fault.
How does that work? Yeah.
Really? Like, how about we just be good human beings, right?
Yes. How about we just be good human beings? Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And that's a lot of authenticity on the call. There's a lot of, I just think people are so authentic on there. There's no hype of, the competition and stuff that we see so often. We're all trying to get through this life. We're all on a journey. And, I know I've got a long way to go for sure. But it is a journey. You gotta start somewhere. So I think there's, hopefully there's people on here watching that are kind of intrigued by this call and, what is this? What is this? I don't know. Maybe this is for me. Maybe it isn't.
The person that needs to hear it will hear it, right? I'm never, and I think that's another important part. You just let it go, right? You don't become attached to it looking the way you think it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
I don't even know. How do you see how many people are on the call? You don't even see that. Who cares?
I don't know if
whoever's meant to be here is here, right? And whoever's meant to hear it later will hear it.
Yeah.
And, I think that's the point that's missing in most professional or personal development is the spiritual side of things. And I was not looking to become a spiritual person. I was like, I just wanted to improve my results financially. I wanted to improve my results, my career. And I had been through some hard times, and you know, I've said it where, what was that? When you think about what did I expect? If the answer is always go inside, and we have God's within us or whatever that belief is, what did I expect to find? So the reason why I love this material and reading the different authors and their take, it's not like where you're being told what to think. It's here's all the information. You think what you want to think, and then like it kind of completes it: mind, body, spirit. Right? We're spiritual beings living in a physical body, and we have an intellect, and we're told to live in alignment. Well, what the hell does that mean? Well, you know, spirit is limitless. It's always for expansion and greater expression. It's boundless. Like sky's the limit, but it resides in this body that takes action and gets results based on the thinking. And that's a pretty frustrating way to live when you've got this magic inside you, and it's being suppressed all the time because of our screwed up ways of thinking. And we didn't choose these habitual thoughts that we have. So, you know, in your industry, you do Greg Proctor, Brian Buffini, you have all these wonderful coaching programs, right? Mm-hmm. And people will invest in that, and then they'll go to try to execute on it. And some will do tremendously well and others will fail. But how you do one thing, you do all things. I think if you don't have the ability to, or the self-image to do things in a certain way, it's not what you're doing. Right. Otherwise, everybody would do the same things and have tremendous success.
Absolutely.
How you're doing it. You do this. You're of service. I can tell when I speak to somebody where they're coming from, what your intention is, because energy is expressed. And I know that you focus on what you can give, and you don't worry about what's on the other side of that. Maybe there's been times where you have, and so have I, and people I think only naturally will do that. Yeah. But for the most part, what's in your heart is, you know, how can I help? And if people were just to focus on that, it's incredible. And you know, you were saying something about how this charity thing and the idea that people would judge it, thinking, oh, she's just doing that for business. Yeah, you know what? I used to think that way too. And just like maybe I was about to call a client at renewal and think, they're going to think look, it's been 5 years. How convenient. He's magically appearing just before my renewal date. Well, when I shifted that from they're going to think I'm trying to sell them something to I better call this person before they lock themselves in some crappy product or rate and then end up selling and paying a penalty or getting into a higher rate. It was a very different expression because now I'm free to be me. I know why I'm doing it. And you know what? Who cares? Let the people judge. And if you're doing something that's contributing to a cause and we're worried about somebody else judging us for it, well, what are they doing? They're probably just making excuses, feeling inadequate, bringing you down so they can feel okay about where they're at. And to think that would stop you from doing good in the world. Yeah. How sad is that? So for that. Like I just love that.
Yeah. And I'm always shocked because this is something that we talk about when we meet with clients, when we first meet with them, we talk about our worthy cause and how we donate to them and why we donate to them. And sometimes people just kind of stare at me and I think, oh God, I don't know what they're thinking about this. And, then we go on, whatever, they become clients and then they'll tell me their story. Mm-hmm. It's incredible the number of people who will reach out to me afterwards and tell me their story. And it's just like, oh, like that person too. And this, 1 in 5 Canadians will have a mental health or an addiction issue that they need to deal with this year, every year. So when you think about that, that means every single Canadian is affected because the family members are affected. This isn't, you don't have a mental health issue in a vacuum. Your whole family is affected. It's devastating. Yeah. So I know that, and I know that, it touches everybody on some level. Everybody knows somebody who's suffering. So we really, really have to get that out into the open. People have to talk about it. People have to feel free enough to say, like, this is what I'm going through. My soul hurts today. I need a mental health day. I need to take some time. We need to get to that point. And I think, maybe not the next generation, but the next generation, I think at some point they'll be saying, like, really, people didn't talk about this? Like, what's the big deal? It is what it is. Some people take medication for, diabetes, and some people take medication because they've got a chemical imbalance in their brain. But it's so prevalent. It's so, I just, I can't say enough about it. So I just know the people who reach out to me and talk to me about what's going on in their lives. And it affects everybody. So where do you where do you want to go with this? Where do you want to go with these calls? Have you ever thought about that, or is this just something that's kind of evolved now and you don't know? Or
I'm just going with it. It's growing organically. I'm so grateful for the community that's just kind of like, now it's almost like I had a kid, and now this kid is like, it can go out and play on its own kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not attached to anything, but I think this is something that a lot of people need. I'm very, very clear on. It incorporates coaching, mindset, reading, interpretation, community, sharing, the repetition of things, understanding. So I think this is revolutionary. It's like a gym for the mind, right? I think, there's a lot of coaches doing things a lot of different ways. And what I'm grateful for is the fact that I was walking through the doors that were opening up for me. And sometimes I'd be like, man, who am I to walk through this door, right? And you get a message at the right time and you realize you help. So you go a little bit longer. And it's when I think back to the way things have worked out, it's not something that I can take credit for. I just feel like, I feel like it's got a life of its own. I'm just really grateful to be the guy driving the ship for now, right? Yeah. So I'm not attached to anything. Like I said, I think it will grow. I think it will become something really big because people need this. Absolutely, people need this. I know it's impacted so many lives.
It's already spawned another call in Australia, right? Where you had Australians on there. Now they've started a call in Australia. So it's growing like it's growing, and it's beautiful to see. But, kudos to you for taking it on and just running with it, because you didn't have to do that. And a lot of people wouldn't. But don't you love when, like, you just see somebody on the call and the light bulb just goes off? Like, you just know that they're just like, oh, wait a second. Like, now I get it. Now, like, you do our stuff and hear stuff, and then all of a sudden we're just like, whoa, what did he just say? You just hear it, and you may have heard it 1,000 times before, but for whatever reason that day it just really resonates with you, and you really get it, and it brings just a clarity or something.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me, I was on a retreat at the Grail Springs retreat. It's such a beautiful place, and I was on a hike, and the guide kind of brought us out into the forest. And it was like, you're out there in nature. It's all there for us. But he pointed out certain things so that we were able to connect or learn something. Like he told us about the woodpecker. Did you know that a woodpecker has a really long tongue? So it can feed its tongue into the hole that it's pecked to take out the grubs, and so it could eat the grubs.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Serves another purpose. The tongue is actually, it serves as like a helmet for the woodpecker's brain. So when it's pecking away, the tongue cushions the brain against the skull so it doesn't get a concussion.
Wow.
So I learned this on this hike. I was like, holy shit, right? But that's what they use in the studies for concussions. So they're basing their studies on the woodpecker and this thing. So my point is, nature's there for us to explore, right? Yeah. We have our thinking, we have our things, right? But for somebody to kind of take you through, maybe they walked that way before, they learned something before you were aware of it, and to just kind of open the lights and say, okay, here it is. You're still free to go play and make your own discoveries. You'll probably discover something I never knew about, right? So you're saying that, and I'm thinking about that for that tour guide for some reason. It was just phenomenal. I think that's pretty much what we're doing on that call. So,
but it goes right back to what we were saying, is you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
You don't, and you don't know it until, somebody says it to you, right? There's so many different things. Like, there's things you don't know, and there's things that you know, but there are things you just don't know. And when you aren't getting the results in your life, I think that's, to bring it full circle, when you aren't getting the results in your life, there's a reason you aren't getting the results in your life, and you need to, dig into that, and, you got to be able to see far enough ahead to know that you're on the right path, right? Like, I heard this story years ago, when you try to change and people say, oh, you've changed. Like, I'm sure some of your friends that used to hang out with are like, oh, he changed. He's like, he thinks he's all that, whatever. But I heard this story years ago about, it's a certain type of crab. And I don't know if you've heard this story before, but there's a certain type of crab And when they catch the crabs, they put them all in this bucket. And as one crab will try to escape, the rest of the crabs will pull them back down. And that's what happens to us as people, that other people will try to pull you back down because they don't understand. It's not malicious. They don't understand what's going on. They're threatened by that. And I think it's, you got to really have enough, you got to really feel it to just keep going down that path, right? You got to keep going down that path of improving yourself and making yourself feel better, because it's all about how you feel inside. It's truly all about how you feel inside. So if you don't have that self-image, you can't do it.
There's so much to that, what you just said. And if that crab persists to try to make its way out after it's being, the other crabs will actually tear its claws apart, so it can't even attempt to climb anymore. So it's untrue. But you're saying that, and I'm thinking, maybe, but it doesn't, I'm not even aware of it. Maybe some of my friends are thinking, oh, look at Joe with his whatever, I don't know what the hell he's doing, running some cult thing in the morning, right? And I don't even, I'm not aware of it, for one, but it doesn't bother me. So people, thankfully they post on Instagram, they put on their stories, 5 a.m. club and all this stuff, right? Beautiful, beautiful posts. And I'll share them, but that's the extent of what I do on Instagram. So I'll read, how do you say that? Yeah, I share it, right? You post
share it, yeah. Repost it.
And then I'll look at it again. And I think a year ago, I would have been very hesitant to post anything in that regard.
Yeah.
But I think I've come to the point where I realize most people are ignorant. They don't know what they don't know. And here's the thing. There might be somebody listening, or most people listening to this going, what the hell are they talking about, right?
Yeah.
They don't even go and change those results. And I think what happens is we start to think, well, if it was so easy, and if this law of attraction worked, and if visualization worked, and if all these things, gratitude work, then why isn't everybody just manifesting all these things? Well, those people don't understand it. They haven't taken the time to really study and dedicate their lives to it. And I think you have to, nobody's saying it's easy.
No.
We enjoy this work. We enjoy studying, but it's work. We're trading in Netflix time for reading a book. But I don't feel like I'm working, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. But when you start to understand that it's about the thoughts that we take in, how those make us feel, how, and all this guy talked about it. This guy says, match the frequency of the thing that you want, and you can't help but get that thing. It's not, he says, this is not philosophy, this is physics. Quantum physicists are talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
But because people can't be bothered to actually spend an hour, and you're not going to get what you need to get in an hour. You're not going to get what you need to get in a year. You're not going to journey. Yeah, it's a lifelong journey, and learning a little bit here and there, things continue to improve. So last year I might have been concerned about what these people are saying. I really don't think that that's happening, and if it is, it doesn't even bother me anymore. Whereas before, my ego would have been like, right? No, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So yeah, you're right. It is a lifelong journey, and we said this the other day. It's easy, it's simple, but it's not easy. And it really is a journey. And even those people that, that get it and work at it all the time and seem like everything is good in their life, they have their struggles. We all have our struggles. I mean, Lord knows I have my struggles some days, and, but you learn to, okay, it's there. I feel it. I'm going to acknowledge it, but I'm not going to let this dictate how my day plays out or whatever, right? It's like those days, I used to have those days where you get up early and then you get up late, and then you say to yourself, this whole day's going to shit because I got up late. And what happens? The whole day goes to shit because you got up late, because you just manifested that. So now I'm like, okay, I got up late. Yeah, I got up late. I get it. Okay, but it's done. Let's move on. And it makes a big difference. So I think it's beautiful. So we're really we've been on here an hour and 20 minutes. It feels like 5. And I knew this would happen, but I don't want to keep you forever. I truly I'm so grateful that I met you and that I was introduced to this call. I really am. And I know I speak for probably 99% of the people on there who never thought they'd get up every day at 5 o'clock and do this, because it sounds like wild, but you do it and then you enjoy it. And you learn so much and you feel so good inside in your soul. So is there anything else you wanted to say before we go, or I got to have you back on here in a few months, and we're going to talk a little bit more about stuff for sure.
Yeah, well, I love chatting with you. I'd happy to do that anytime, and I just love having you on the calls, like I said. But yeah, if anybody's listening that feels like this is kind of making sense but not sure, like read something. You know, I actually know why don't I do my top picks for books?
Do that.
Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Hill. You know, it's so crazy. As a Man Thinketh, Psycho-Cybernetics.
Love that book.
Power of Intention.
Yeah.
Wishes Fulfilled. The Four Agreements.
I've read half of those.
Now we got the last three. The Magic Thinking Big. Have I said, did I say As a Man Thinketh?
Yeah, you said that one.
You know what? That's a good start.
Okay.
It's too good to pick from.
Yeah. There's so many. There's so many. But
Getting Rich would be the last one.
Yeah. Everybody will get something different out of every book, right? Like I've read a lot of those books, not all of them. So now I keep, especially on these calls, I'm writing down, okay, buy this book. Like I've got this big long list. Psycho-Cybernetics, amazing book. Think and Grow Rich, amazing. The Power of Intention, amazing. Like they're just such amazing books. But you're right. Just pick up a book, read something, listen to it. If you listen to it in your car.
Gaia, Gaia. Watch
I
that.
just subscribed,
Some crummy TV show.
Yeah.
And like that's like a networks for mindset stuff, documentaries. Just expand your awareness. Like dig into this stuff. You want to join the call? I'd love to have you.
Yeah.
The only prerequisite, you come without judgment. You come as you are, and there's some rules, but I think they're pretty fair, common rules, right? No crap.
Yeah. So we've posted your phone number, your email in there. If anyone's curious about the call and wants to know about it, I'm happy to talk to anybody about like the experience that I've had, which has been huge. And I'd love to have you on again in a little bit. So I'm going to wrap it up. I'll just tell everybody. So our next call that we're doing is Thursday, and it'll be with one of the buyers. I have a buyer. I have clients that bought and sold a house this year, like mid-COVID, and their story is so amazing, and some of the stuff that they're doing is so awe-inspiring. I'm dying to get them on and talk to them. So David Guida is going to be my guest, so I'll talk to him on Thursday. And if you're looking for mortgage information, you're happy to reach out to Joe and with me. If you feel it that our team can help you with your buying and selling, and also know that we're giving to a very worthy cause. You're helping a very worthy cause as well. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. So I'm gonna wrap this up for now. And just like such a pleasure to have you here, Joe. Thank you so much.
Pleasure of mine. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything you do.
Thank you.